herd of camels had stopped over on Paraji's territory. Artui, the leader, felt good about this place, and the nomads, while waiting for their next walk, had picked up again with their normal routine. Everything had changed in the life of Paraji the dingo. A dominant female, Kira, imposed herself on him, accompanied by her 2 children. The group lived from now on under her law. A red giant, Nagama, had arrived in Burka's clan, dashing in just a few hours the hopes that the young Kudla had in seducing Kartanya. Nagama had become the leader of the family. In the north, in the Bat's Grove, Pierced Wing, the red flying fox, had given birth to a baby. All this Paraji projected on the Dome of Dreams, for it is in this way we enter life when our dream begins. Paraji isn't sure if the sacred rock is still watching over him. The past days have left him disoriented. Until that time, he was the master of his territory. But now, since the arrival of Kira the Terrifying, he's no more than a spectator in his own life. Kira's children, Marty and Query, play carefree under his watch without fearing him or worrying about him. These games remind Paraji of the ones played by his own children when he was reigning on the desert. Query, the little female, is as curious and excited by the strangeness of the world as Waka was cunning. Marty, like Kintala before him, still puts up with the suffering from his sister's roughness. He will take control of her later, when the time is right. In order to prepare for new times, and so that everyone knows it, Kira has directly established a chain of command. Her in front, and the others behind. There is only one who doesn't care to participate too much in Kira's game. Kintala, Paraji's son, who would have been called to compete with her in his father's place in full view of the group. But Paraji is still there, troubled and weakened. He has accepted the companionship of Query, the usurper's daughter, without a fuss. She has already attached herself to him. In spite of the uncertainty, Waka and Kintala enjoy playing with their newcomer juniors, Marty and Query, on a plane large enough for everyone. Now the 6 dingoes form a real pack, and the children will grow in companionship with their kind. In this way, through games and permanent confrontation, they will forge their characters. Little by little, the young dingoes will learn the rules of communal life, even if it's just to better transgress them at the moment of their maturity. They will live like wolves, who were their Asian ancestors and whose heirs crossed the seas with man more than 4,000 years ago. Becoming free again, they colonized the great Australian desert. Even Kira and Paraji join the celebration. Paraji visualizes the advantages of clan life, the game, and the number which increases strength, particularly for the hunt. So the dethroned king accepts the good grace of letting himself be chased by Kira, who had stolen his power. After all, she represents all the characteristics of seduction that can make a female desirable. She is strong, durable, and she flies more than she runs on top of the savannah. Kira understands that in joining her children, Query and Marty, with others of their kind, she has found for them the best companions and the ideal territory. Kira, therefore, will form, along with Paraji, who runs towards her, one of those rather stable packs, counting between 3 and 12 individuals and occupying a territory all year long. This piece of desert that is wrapped by the Tropic of Capricorn will become their home, and each will know that here reigns, without sharing, the clan of Kira, the she-wolf. In the south, in the Isle of Kangaroos, open to all of the winds of the ocean, Kartanya, the gray kangaroo, nurses her son Pogo. Nagama, the giant recently arrived in the area, solicits her by little clacking noises of the tongue. He would really like it if the female was interested in him, but Kartanya, too occupied by Pogo and too absorbed by her contemplative life, has not yet been conquered. Nagama will put up with the long wait, like he accepts without being annoyed the presence of the honey eater on his back. The honey eater drinks the nectar of flowers, withdrawing the sap by the tip of its curved beak, thanks to a tongue which provides a sort of sponge. But he can't nourish himself only with sugar. So the honey eater picks through the insects that he finds sometimes on the back of a mammal. There is something in it for everyone. The first eats, the second gets rid of his parasites. Kartanya doesn't seem anxious to offer herself to him. Nagama knows that in time he will have her, and that he must not rush her. He will stay close to her as long as necessary, showing enough consideration to win without pushing his luck. A hole in the middle of the desert. It's a burrow. The formidable brown serpent has just left it to fight. The combat is between two males, Kakalak with his black head and a serpent with a lighter tint. According to the subspecies and its individuals, the color of the brown serpent can vary from green-brown to somber gray or to beige. The brown serpent is one of the most rapid and aggressive in Australia, and one whose neurotoxic venom is the most concentrated. Most of the combats are between rival males during the mating season. The adversaries have the ability to test themselves. They intermingle and try to bite each other. Kakalak had tried to take advantage, but his enemy rebelled quickly. It's he that takes the offensive and wins the battle. Paraji and his own brave the heat of the savannah, which from now on is so dry that the urine of certain thirsty animals looks more like a porridge than a liquid. The dingoes know where to find the last watering holes still available, and they continue to look at life as a feast where nothing is to be missed. Query, the daughter of Kira, feels so infatuated with Paraji that she doesn't leave him alone for a moment. For Kira, the exuberance that reigns in the pack is without a doubt good to see. But Marty and Query's games, or those participated in by Paraji, must not rule over discipline. She reminds her daughter first. Paraji is the second that Kira decides to bring to order, but a surprise is waiting for her. Paraji, having too often submitted to her reign of terror, rebels and attacks. Kira no longer knows on which foot to dance. Isn't she the dominant female? Hasn't she shown enough of her strength? She must adopt another strategy. Kira goes behind. She turns around Paraji. She brushes up against him, nibbles him, and it ends up just the same, by him falling at her feet. It's Query for the moment that makes life difficult for her mother. It will be like this from now on. Each one in the group will spend his time challenging the supremacy of the dominant animal, in order to verify that their courage has not left them, to evaluate their strength in order to be ready if it ever diminished. When the day dawns, Kira is still the sovereign. She will still be the day after, and the day after, until the moment when one of her own children, perhaps, will condemn her to exile. In waiting for this day, we don't know whether to say if she is keeping guard in front of the old carcass of the kangaroo, or whether her dream carries her towards the Great Spirit occupied in shaping the universe. When the moon is high enough in the night sky, a little marsupial leaves his nest or his shelter where he has dug a hole in a dead tree. He then rummages around in the vegetal debris that litters the ground. To tell the truth, despite his size, the rat kangaroo has more in common with the kangaroo than with a rodent. He has great long legs that permit him to jump, little arms, and an upside-down opening for the pouch. The rat kangaroo sustains himself with fruits, stalks, barks, or grains. He is a part of the animal gardeners, which contribute to maintaining the vegetation. In particular, his excrement is rich in spores, that's to say in seeds, the seeds of some kinds of truffles, useful for the roots of trees. In spreading this excrement around, he enriches his own environment non-stop. The rat kangaroo worries only about a few predators, although sometimes an insomniac dingo or a nightbird will make him their meal. The evening of killing has finished when the flying foxes come back to hang from their branches. The evil nocturnal spells disperse with the mist that the heat brings up from the marshes. The wedge-tailed eagle of Australia awakens when his neighbors prepare to sleep. A deafening noise from her peers sometimes frightens Pierced Wing, who refolds her wings in order to protect her baby. Each one nestles into their preferred sleeping position. The spider web, the pendant, or the cluster. The sun continues rising. It's the time when another predator, the brown snake, rouses from his sleep. The brown serpent is capable of digging burrows and also enjoys being in those of others. Now awake, he invades the subterranean nest of a rat, his favorite prey, taken by trapping him in his own cul-de-sac. The brown snake, a feared hunter, is equipped with a good arsenal. His tongue brings back continuously to his palate these odor packets that will be analyzed by means of an ultra-sensitive device, Jacobson's organ. A little orifice in the shape of a square opens itself on top of his lip and permits him to detect all thermal energy sources located within his proximity. Finally, the snake perceives vibrations from the soil. Even in the most total obscurity, nothing living can escape him. Bitten, then choked against the surface so that it causes death to come more quickly. The rat is now swallowed. The two jaws of the snake can separate in order to let the largest prey pass through its mouth. Nature has equipped his nose with a shield of scales intended to push the earth to the side of his mouth. Even in these depths of the soil, the brown serpent is a perfect killer. The camels have found in the outback, the red heart of Australia, a plain where some bushes still exist that are green. This day, one of them detects an unusual odor in the air. He opens his nostrils wide, which his muscles can close in case of a sandstorm. Yes, it's really a stranger that approaches, whose appearance is so pitiful and his gait so lame that one could call him a coon, the sorrowful. The sentinel ranks just after Artui in the hierarchy of the group. The Aborigines would call him Irk, a term which designates him as a police officer, a cop. A coon suffers from a loosening of the pad on his foot. Camels do not walk on the tip of their third toe adorned with a hoof, like other hoofed animals, but on the sole of the second and third knuckle, covered with a thick elastic cushion. It's this large cushion that has been separated from the foot. Alerted, Artui, the leader of the herd, comes to see for himself what's happening. Slowly, but with bad intentions, he approaches the cripple. A coon realizes that he called at the wrong door. Irk and Artui indicate to him in their own fashion that he will receive no help from these two. Boxed in, threatened, and soon cruelly bitten, the unfortunate will be excluded and escorted under a close watch to the fringes. The disgrace from which a coon suffers is one of those that can kill. The planter's cushion of the camel, supple and large, permits him to walk on sandy surfaces without sinking. Without it, the animal stands directly on the knuckles, cannot move himself normally, and runs the risk of wasting away. Urk, foaming at the mouth, reestablishes order in the troop, while Artui confirms that the undesirable one is moving away, and that his weakness in attracting predators will not place the rest of the group at risk. A coon leaves. His body lists like a vessel. It's the beginning of the end for him. Too many things have happened recently in Pogo's life. He no longer knows where he is, and he is irritated and restless. Pogo even refuses to let his mother brush him lightly on the nose, which is, nevertheless, with kangaroos, a sign of affection. Kudla makes him nervous. The young male hasn't stopped roaming around Cartania and still dreams, in spite of all the evidence, that she will warm up to him. Burka seems indifferent to the helplessness of her grandson. It's only close to Cartania that the young gray kangaroo can hope to calm down, or to let off steam. When he feels like recommencing the frenzy, Cartania knows a way to stop her son. She steps on his tail. Cartania is stunned. Pogo is freed. After a few seconds, he comes back, attracted by the best soother, mother's milk. When Pogo has finished nursing, Cartania finds herself back-to-back with Nagama, the great male almost 2 times her size. Jealous, Kudla tries everything to get a position back in the family, even that of babysitter. The suitor then tries to approach Cartania. Full of hope, he extends the nose. But his request is rejected. The grove of the red flying foxes is ideally situated on top of a mangrove where the waters give birth continuously to parasitic bloodthirsty insects. It seems like everything that tickles, mills about, and scratches comes in order to hatch their offspring. The fact that the mothers scratch themselves with such energy represents a danger to the babies. Sometimes one of them, too violently shaken, falls to the ground, where it will make a predator happy. Pierced Wing scratches with the same vigor as the others, and her desperate baby, clasping to her body, waits for the tempest to pass. Peace has come back to Kangaroo Island, and Pogo has calmed down. Over the last few days, he has lost his point of reference. Too many rival males relentlessly seducing his mother have disturbed the intimacy so necessary for his relationship with Cartania. Cartania is his only anchor point. He has been out of the pouch for 10 months and will depend on her for at least 1 year. They form a true couple, stronger and more durable than that joining a male to a female. Nagama, the giant male the color of fire, finds himself face to face with this intimacy, as if in front of a fortress. What can be his strength? He doesn't know how to overcome this obstacle, so tenuous, this tenderness that seems to expel and drive away the rest of the world. His desire and enthusiasm are evident, but he must still wait. Soon this patience will bear forth fruit. It will reassure Cartania. And when the female is in a better mood, one day she will choose him as the father of a potential baby to come, a giant male, the color of fire. The contortions of Pierced Wing have made her baby fall, and she inches down a long dead stalk, The little flying fox makes desperate attempts to keep herself attached to her support. But each time that she clutches, she tears her skin on the thorns of the stalk, tires herself further, and descends a little more. Her mother, perched on top, has no way to go and get her. Without the mother, at an age where she should still stay attached to the teat, the little animal has no chance of survival. The real men, that's to say the Aborigines, believe that each only dreams about his own life, which lasts until he finishes the dream. Today, a little flying fox is going to wake up. It's the end of her dream. The young male camels don't waste any chance to mimic rituals of aggression in preparation for a time where it will be necessary for them to truly battle. The final objective of the wrestling is to put all of your mass on the neck of your opponent in an effort to destabilize him and make him fall. But if you have inaccurately evaluated your own weight, you can find yourself at heights you had not dreamed of reaching. In order to win, all methods are acceptable. You must bite the feet and the knuckles of the enemy, and from time to time, shout in a loud voice in order to impress him. The one whose head is higher than the others has the advantage. The game is still innocent. They are just toughening themselves up. But later, when they are in heat, they will truly battle to the death. A wedge-tailed eagle flies over the plains, which are the color of tarnished flax. Each plant shrinks from the effects of the dryness. Fed up with always being the example of authority used by her mother, Query gives in to a solitary moment of roaming. She has been gone for more than 1 hour. The desert doesn't seem to be as welcoming as before, but the numerous odors excite her curiosity. The little female doesn't like it when a shadow runs behind her. Her instinct tells her that she must flee. The shade has disappeared, and the sky is empty. Query goes up a hill in the middle of some rocks and bushes. Her mouth is dry. Her breath is cut short. Each breath of air burns inside of her body. The dark shade is back. The best way to flee the threat would be perhaps to disappear into the ground, where life and coolness take refuge. Query realizes that the burrow is not big enough for her. She gives up trying to find tranquility. With a body 3 feet long and a wingspan that surpasses 6 feet, the eagle thinks he has the size to tire a little dingo and perhaps to tear it up with his claws. Other mammals, in particular young wallabies, are on his list of preferred prey. However, only extreme shortage will cause him to attack a prey as strong as Query. Query is exhausted. The eagle gets ready to attack. The bird of prey suddenly reevaluates the situation. The effort to kill the young female was too much for him. Query has escaped, but the hunger has stayed. The eagle will have to find some other nourishment. It's at this moment a bearded dragon has chosen to warm his cold blood with the sun's ray. The bumps of the throat bristle when he must scare a predator. This ability could be useful for small predators, but not when confronted with such a great bird. The wedge-tailed eagle picked up the dragon without much more effort than that of cutting grass. This day will not end without the eagle putting a little bit of life into his stomach. The herd of camels regroups principally around the stallion Artui. These include some females accompanied by their children, and some young males of the second rank. Other groups are composed exclusively of mature males. Finally, some old stallions excluded by stronger rivals wander, living on the fringes of these communities. When the heat becomes oppressive and when the food becomes rare, the dingoes leave their territory in order to improve their chances of finding prey or carcasses. In the absence of Artui, who has moved away, the responsibility falls on the strongest young males to protect the group. A camel's kick can be fatal, but the runaway doesn't wait for Urk to prove it to him. Perhaps the black dingo will avenge himself on the carcass of another camel. This one was wounded and begged his brothers to give him a place. Now he is dead, for the desert shows no mercy to those who cannot resist it.